Hello, my name is Jisoo and I've been reading Shōbōgenzō with my accent. And we have reached chapter 29, which is a favourite of mine, Inmo, or it. Inmo is a colloquial word in Chinese and it means it, that, or what. We usually use the words it, that, or what to indicate something that we do not need to explain. Therefore, Buddhist philosophers in China use the word Inmo to suggest something ineffable. At the same time, one of the aims of studying Buddhism is to realize reality, and according to Buddhist philosophy, reality is something ineffable. So the word Inmo was used to indicate the truth or reality which in Buddhist philosophy is originally ineffable. In this chapter, Master Dōgen explained the meaning of Inmo, quoting the words of Master Ungo Doyo, Master Sanganandi, Master Daikan Ino, Master Sakito Kisen, and others. Okay, here we go. I seem to remember this isn't too long, but I think I'll still chunk it into a couple of pieces. Yeah. Great Master Kokaku of Ungozan Mountain is the rightful heir of Tozan, is the 39th generation Dharma descendant of Shakyamuni Buddha, and is the authentic patriarch of Tozan's lineage. One day he preaches to the assembly, if you want to attain the matter which is it, you must be a person who is it. Already being a person who is it, why worry about the matter which is it? In other words, those who want to attain the matter which is it must themselves be people who are it. They are already people who are it. Why should they worry about attaining the matter which is it? The point of this is that directing oneself straight for the supreme truth of Bodhi is described for the present as it. The situation of this supreme truth of Bodhi is such that even the whole universe in 10 directions is just a small part of the supreme truth of Bodhi. It may be that the truth of Bodhi abounds beyond the universe. We ourselves are tools which it possesses within this universe in 10 directions. How do we know that it exists? We know it is so because the body and the mind both appear in the universe, yet neither is our self. The body already is not I. Its life moves on through days and months, and we cannot stop it even for an instant. Where have the red faces of our youth gone? When we look for them, they have vanished without a trace. When we reflect carefully, there are many things in the past that we will never meet again. The sincere mind, too, does not stop, but goes and comes moment by moment. Although the state of sincerity does exist, it is not something that lingers in the vicinity of the personal self. Even so, there is something which, in the limitlessness, establishes the Bodhi mind. Once this mind is established, abandoning our former playthings, we hope to hear what we have not heard before, and we seek to experience what we have not experienced before. This is not solely of our own doing. Remember, it happens like this because we are people who are it. How do we know that we are people who are it? We know that we are people who are it just from the fact that we want to attain the matter which is it. Already, we possess the real features of a person who is it. We should not worry about the already present matter which is it. Even worry itself is just the matter which is it, and so it is beyond worry. Again, we should not be surprised that the matter which is it is present in such a state. Even if it is the object of surprise and wonderment, it is still just it. and there is it about which we should not be surprised. The state cannot be fathomed even by the consideration of Buddha. It cannot be fathomed by the consideration of the mind. It cannot be fathomed by the consideration of the Dharma world, and it cannot be fathomed by the consideration of the whole universe. It can only be described. Already you are a person who is it. Why worry about attaining the matter which is it? Thus, the suchness of sound and form may be it, the suchness of body and mind may be it, and the suchness of the Buddhas may be it. For example, the time of falling down on the ground, For example, the time of falling down on the ground, we understand as it is, as it. And at the very moment when we get up, inevitably relying on the ground, we do not wonder that the falling down was on the ground. There are words that have been spoken since ancient times, have been spoken from the western heavens, and have been spoken from the heavens above. They are, if we fall down on the ground, we get up again on the ground. If we seek to get up apart from the ground, that is, in the end, impossible. In other words, those who fall down on the ground inevitably get up on the ground, and if they want to get up without relying on the ground, they can never do so at all. Taking up what is described thus, we have seen it as the beginning of attainment of great realization, and we have made it into the state of truth that sheds body and mind. Therefore, if someone asks, what is the principle of the Buddha's realization of the truth? We say, it is like someone who falls down to the ground, getting up on the ground. Mastering this principle, we should penetrate and clarify the past. We should penetrate and clarify the future. And we should penetrate and clarify the very moment of the present. Great realization and non-realization, returning to delusion and losing the state of delusion, being restricted by realization itself and being restricted by delusion itself. Each of these is the truth that someone who falls down to the ground gets up relying on the ground. It is an expression of the truth in the heavens above and everywhere under the heavens, is an expression of the truth in the western heavens and the eastern lands, is an expression of the truth in the past, present and future, and is an expression of the truth of old Buddhas and new Buddhas. This expression of the truth is never imperfect in expression, and it does not lack anything in expression. Even so, it seems to me that only to understand the words like that, without also understanding them in a way which is not like that, is to fail to master these words. Although the expression of the truth of an eternal Buddha has been transmitted like that, still, when eternal Buddha listens as eternal Buddha to the words of the eternal Buddha, there should be an ascendant state of listening. Though never spoken in the western heavens and never spoken in the heavens above, there is another truth to be expressed. It is that if those who fall down on the ground seek to get up by relying on the ground, even if they spend countless kalpas, they will never be able to get up. They can get up by means of just one vigorous path. That is, those who fall down through reliance on the ground inevitably get up relying on the void, and those who fall down through reliance on the void inevitably get up by relying on the ground. Unless it is like this, getting up will, in the end, be impossible. The Buddhas and the patriarchs were all like this. Suppose a person asks a question like this: how far apart are the void and the ground? If someone asks a question like this, we should answer that person like this: the void and the ground are 108,000 miles apart. When we fall down through reliance on the ground, we inevitably get up relying on the void, and if we seek to get up apart from the void, it will be impossible at last. When we fall down through reliance on the void, we inevitably get up by relying on the ground, and if we seek to get up apart from the ground, it will be impossible at last. Someone who has never spoken such words has never known and never seen the dimensions of the ground and the void of Buddhism. The 17th ancestral patriarch, the Venerable Samganandi, whose Dharma successor in due course was Gyasata, on one occasion hears bells hung in a hall ringing when blown by the wind, and he asks Gyasata, "Is it the sound of the wind? Is it the sound of the bells?" Gyasata says, "It is beyond the ringing of the wind and beyond the ringing of the bells. It is the ringing of my mind." The Venerable Samganandi says, "Then what is the mind?" Gyasata says, "The reason it is ringing is that all is still." The Venerable Samganandi says, "Excellent, excellent. Who else but you, disciple, could succeed to my truth?" Eventually, he transmits to Gyasata the right Dharma Eye treasury. Here, in the state beyond the ringing of the wind, we learn my mind ringing. In the time beyond the ringing of the bells, we learn my mind ringing. My mind ringing is it. At the same time, all is still. Transmitted from the western heavens to the eastern lands, from ancient times to the present day, this story has been seen as a standard for learning the truth. But many people have understood it as follows. Gyasata's words, "It is neither the ringing of the wind nor the ringing of the bells, it is the ringing of the mind," mean that there is in the listener, at just the moment of the present, the occurrence of mindfulness, and this occurrence of mindfulness is called the mind. If this mindfulness did not exist, how could the sound of ringing be recognized as a circumstance? Hearing is realized through this mindfulness, which may be called the root of hearing, and so he says the mind is ringing. This is wrong understanding. It is like this because it is devoid of the influence of a true teacher. For example, it is like interpretations by commentary teachers on subjectivism and proximity. Interpretation like this is not profound learning of the Buddha's truth. Among those who have learned under rightful successors to the Buddha's truth, on the other hand, the supreme state of Bodhi and the right Dharma Eye treasury are called stillness, are called being free of doing, are called samadhi, and are called dharani. The principle is that if only one Dharma is still, the 10,000 Dharmas are all still. The blowing of the wind being still, the ringing of the bells is still, and for this reason he says all is still. He is saying that the mind is ringing is beyond the ringing of the wind. The mind ringing is beyond the ringing of the bells, and the mind ringing is beyond the ringing of the mind. Having pursued to the ultimate, the close and direct state like this, we may then go on to say that it is the wind ringing, it is the bells ringing, it is the blowing ringing, and it is the ringing ringing. The state like this exists not on the basis of why should we worry about the matter which is it. It is like this because how can the matter which is it be related to anything? Okay, I'm going to leave that there and we'll come back to that in the next episode. Thank you for listening.